React, creating new projects. React uses multiple tools to handle the way it parses JSX, JavaScript XML, and converts it into JavaScript code before optimizing it for a browser environment. To help with this process, the npm project create-react-app was created. It works with npx, the node package runner, to create a React project at a specific local folder. So let's look at an example of this because it's going to take a little bit. So I'm going to move over to Visual Studio Code. And we'll notice we've got mobile development open, as well as I've already opened terminal. And of course, if you don't have terminal open, you can go terminal, new terminal. And if you've already opened one previously, view terminal will open any previously viewed terminals. So I've currently got terminal set up here. I want to create a new React app or a new React project based on the create-react-app project. So again, we use npx space create-react-app space. Now the very next thing we include is the folder that will be created as that React project. So remember, this will create a folder. So in this example, I'm going to call this example. So this will create the folder called example in the current directory mobile development and create a React app. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And we need to give it just a little bit of time. Now, depending on download speeds, hard drive speeds, and a number of other variables, this can take a considerable amount of time. Considerable meaning several minutes to produce. So right now it's going to attempt to figure out what it needs to load. And notice it says extract, and it's going through a lot of this. And then it will give us an initial time that it took to do that, which usually is between 30 to 90 seconds. So again, could take multiple minutes. So 28 seconds to figure it out. And it said, okay, it's creating a new React app in users, Danny, desktop, fall 2020, mobile development example. And notice it showed up over here, example. Now notice it says installing packages. It's installing React, React DOM, React scripts, and CRA, create React app template. Now this is the part that can take a long time. Part of the reason it can take a long time is because it's installing now somewhere between 1,500 to 1,800 packages. Which, if remember, every time we use npm and we install one package, it usually takes a few seconds depending on download speeds and installations and everything else. So imagine now multiplying that by 1,800, and so we notice it could take a few minutes. So while this is going on, I'm going to move back to my slides, and then we'll come back once this is finished. So moving back into the slides then, we again use multiple tools to handle the way it parses JSX. So again, we're using this project create-react-app to create this for us. And of course, as a review, we see npx create react app and then the folder name. So again, the above will create a new React project with the default options and initial code. This is going to be important, and we'll see this once it's created. So while this is very convenient for creating a new React project, in fact, it is incredibly convenient for us, it can take up to several minutes. So take some time with this. This is usually suggested where people could get up, get some coffee, maybe get a quick snack, take a little short walk while you're waiting for this to download, install, and prepare, which again, depending on a number of factors, can take up to several minutes. So with that in mind, and as I've been talking here, let's go back and look to see at its progress. And it's probably not finished yet. Nope, it still isn't. So again, this can take quite a while to do, so keep that in mind. So let's review though while I'm sitting here and looking at this. So I opened Visual Studio Code, did a open folder. So in Windows, that's file open folder, or if you're on Mac, file open, selected the file, the directory I wanted. Within that directory, I want to create another one inside this one. In this case, I wanted to create example. So npx space create-react-app space in the name of the folder to create. Now this will create a new React app that is a new React project. It will configure all of the necessary tools for that, It will download all of those tools, packages, and their dependencies, which again is usually about 1,800 some packages in total, and it will prepare initial code. This can take a significant amount of time. Notice already I have been talking for several minutes and it's still not done yet. So keep in mind this is a significant amount of time this can take. So again, this depends on a lot of different factors though. So for some people this may go very, very quickly. For others it may go significantly slower. So keep in mind though that this is anticipated to take a significant amount of time, which again depends on a number of different factors. So we're going to go ahead and let this finish, and I'll sit here and hopefully it will finish momentarily. But again, keep in mind that the initial run of it took 28 seconds to set up, and then everything else here, the additional 1,800 some packages can take a considerable amount of time. So while we're waiting though, let me review one more time. And we will go back to the initial slides and just look at this again. So again, uses multiple tools to handle the way it parses JSX, because again, multiple parsing, right? It parses the XML, the JSX, into JavaScript and then parses the JavaScript itself. So two layers of parsing there. And again, to help with this whole process, we use create-react-app, which again creates this project for us, creates the initial project with the default options and some initial code, which we'll look at very shortly. And again, while incredibly convenient, to set all of this up for us can take quite a significant amount of time, again, depending on a number of different factors. So again, depending on download speed, depending on computer speed, hard drive, a number of different factors can go into this. But once it's done though, we will then have a React project prepared, a default one with some initial code, and that will help us build into, of course, future videos and future projects. Again, keeping in mind that this can take a significant amount of time to download, install, and prepare. So let's go check it one more time. And I believe it's finally finished. Yes, still finishing stuff. So notice it loaded 1,598 packages, so it's still doing things. So it did a bunch of initialization stuff, and it is still going. So we'll give it just a second here to hopefully it will finish up while we're watching. But again, keep in mind, this can be very time consuming. So it's recommended again to start this process, get up, walk around, or switch to another tab, switch to another task as it's setting up. Again, significant setup time, but once it's set up, it's very easy to edit code and get going. So 36 more packages were added, 70 packages in total. So again, we're up to 1,638 packages. Now notice it's going to go through and remove some that you didn't need as a post-installation process. So we're at 1,637 and it is finally done. So happy hacking. So again, this is a longer video to show that this can take some time. So keep in mind, again, longer startup, but once it's ready, it's ready. So let's pause here then and just look at a default project, and I'll come back to this and talk through this in later videos. But to start, this is again running in Node. So it's got a package.json. It's got Node packages, so package lock.json. It's also set this up already as its own, potentially its own Git repo as well. So notice it has its own gitignore file. And then notice it has 2 or 3 folders, in fact, we want to pay attention to. The first one, node modules, which of course are the packages it loaded. Next one is public, and the next one is source. So we're going to talk about this more in later videos, but I want to highlight 2 things here. Public is the final build of the code, basically what you would use if you wanted to make it public. And source is the source code of the project. Now notice there's a number of different files here, which we'll get into in later videos, but it helps us to differentiate the two between public as the final code, the sort of built code, and the source is, or SRC is source for the source code. So to finally wrap up this video, again, can take a rather long time depending on configuration, download speeds, and everything else. But npx space create-react-app space the name of the folder to create. In this case, I created example. To Created that folder, set it all up for us, took several minutes, but when it was ready, we now have a default React project to use and to work with.